and we can see what is happening. Cool. All right, cool. I can see it live. Let me pull this up.
Yeah,
awesome.
Pull that up. I'm just gonna catch another couple of TikToks.
Yeah, that was there. Walking in. Cool. Steve, hello. Hey, Mr. Parkinson. All right, looks like people are dropping in now. So yeah, if you are joining us here, one thing I asked, let us know, say hey. Yeah, even if just to start, let us know where you're tuning in from as well. I'm going to guess most of us based in the UK at the moment, but yeah, do let us know. Hey, Liam. Hey, Derek, I'm guessing. Apologies if didn't pronounce that right. Derek. Cool. Alrighty. Well, look, tonight we've got a pretty exciting one for you. We're going to be going through Q4 prep, and the reason why I say it's exciting is because I think it's pretty important. You know, there's the old saying of adage of work smarter, not harder, and Q4 is the period where sort of in e-commerce and as Amazon sellers, there really is that potential to make potentially even more than Q1, 2, 3 combined in Q4. So that's why I say this is really exciting, why it's really important. You know, if you prepare right for Q4, then you've got a really good opportunity to make quite a considerable amount of money. And that's going to be relative for everyone. Everyone's going to have different goals in mind, but we'll come on to that. So I'm Luke Filer, for those who don't know, and I'm joined by Eamonn McCaffrey today. Eamonn, do you want to give a quick intro over who you are?
Yeah, Eamonn McCaffrey. I'm from County Armagh, Northern Ireland. I have been selling on Amazon. I actually think it's 4 years today. 4 years today. I've just twigged that.
Congratulations.
Genuine. Thank you. I've literally just twigged that there now. In that time, it has been an absolute whirlwind for anybody that says, oh, you learn Amazon and then you know how to do it. No. 5 minutes before jumping on this call, I just learned something about the process of what way Amazon sorts its fees between pending and shipped. So I'll let them know a bit today. Started off 200 quid going around Tesco's clearance section, literally just scanning on the app, absolutely no idea what I was doing. A lot of it was self-taught, and then from that I worked up from tons of YouTube videos. Probably about the only person in the iGen group that I would argue that has sat and read near enough all of Amazon terms and conditions, because you got to know all the rules so you know which ones to break. And I'd say about 2 years ago I started taking Amazon properly seriously. Have been full-time in the Amazon game for about 18 months coming. And I absolutely love it. There is days it stresses me to the hilt. There is nights that I struggle to switch off and get to sleep. But every day I'm buzzing for it. And Q4 is just that time. I had my end of year accounts this week, and my accountant was like, you know, you have a lot on, you know, you learn to say no and just push back. And I'm like, I'll do that in January because Q4 is coming, baby. And now is the time when I shine. It's the only time of the year when I will do RA, because it's just justifiable. Instead of going out and seeing what there is to get, I have specific shopping lists and I just hit them hard. This year I have big plans where instead of me trying to scramble with many hours a day, I have 2 vans sitting ready to rock and roll, and I have drivers and credit cards, and they're just going to be handed shopping lists and targets. So look, as you said there, Q4 is massively a game changer for the point of the year. Like, look at COVID this year. There were several local bars and restaurants that were interviewed, and they pretty much said that they run for 3 or 4 months at the start of the year just to keep staff on so that they have the systems in place for Q4, because that's when they make their revenue. Their entire business model is based around just Q4. E-commerce isn't really one of them, but it is definitely the golden time of the year for revenue and for margins. If you're sitting anywhere between 10 to 20% during the year, you can usually get that up to 25 or over around Q4. Just nice. A little bit about me, a little bit more of a spiel, but yeah, I'm buzzing for it.
Awesome. Well, look, if you are watching, please do us a massive favor. The only thing I'm going to ask today, you hit like, love heart, just give Facebook's algorithm a bit of a little boost so it can push out to everyone else in the group. I do think this is going to be very valuable, at least I hope. You can let us know at the end. Cool. We've got a couple of comments. I'm just going to run through those. Callum and Dee say evening in the West Midlands. I'm not sure where Dee is based. Here you both. Calvis says happy anniversary. Alice is here, been selling 3 months. Carl, 6 years plus. Wow, that's a long time. Callum, 18 months, second Q4. Very exciting there, Callum. I know my second Q4 went a lot better than the first one. Jess, 6 months, awesome. I know Jess has been ticking along. Carl, you can find these, they're probably pretty spread out in the group, but if you can see here, it says the mastermind and then a number. So this is number 20, apparently. So if you search mastermind, 001, you can kind of see what it's about and decide if that's for you and so on, Carl. Not necessarily in any one place. Essentially, we could set that up. Hey, Andy, hope you are doing well. So for those who don't know me, I've been selling pretty much a year less than Eamonn. Eamonn actually helped me a lot when I got going, which I posted about, I think, yesterday. I started out sort of scanning as well around stores, did a bit of online stuff. For me, my business model is a little bit different in that I really, an important factor for me is being geographically independent. I mean, right now I'm only sort of about 20, 30 minutes from what I'd call home, but at the same time, I'm still away, I guess, and I spend, more often than not, I'm away from sort of home and traveling to an extent. So that's quite important for me. But anyway, my online arbitrage business is pretty much outsourced. I only do online arbitrage. I don't do any RA wholesale or anything like that, just purely because of the way my business functions. And actually, I was looking at some sort of data, and I've hit pretty much 1.2 million sales in the last 24 months, which I'm pretty proud of. Actually, it's pretty surreal to think about that, but really, really awesome. And I think the gratitude and sort of experiencing the journey is one thing I've been reflecting on a lot, and I encourage you all to do so wherever you are at. If that's 3 months, 6 months, you're going to learn a lot on the way. So if anyone does have any questions, please do drop them in the comments. This isn't really a Q&A. Eamonn's prepared some stuff for you guys, and now chipping along the way with anything that I think might be useful. But we will come back to any questions at the end. The one thing I will say is, look, we've got, these tend to finish for about the hour. If it goes on a bit later, then so be it. We'll try and give you as much information as possible in the next 50 minutes or so. That's our promise to you. Obviously, we do only have that time available. If anyone does want then any more assistance in terms of Q4 prep, we are going to offer an opportunity there for pretty much something that's crazy low investment, but we will come to that for anyone who does want that. I will pass over to Eamonn. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown on what's on for tonight?
Yeah, well, Kelvo's just dropped a message, Eamonn PowerPoint at the ready, but he's a couple of days early on it because I do have a lovely PowerPoint ready, but it's not being rolled out till next week. So tonight's pretty much just a taster of what we're going to be covering next week. My biggest bit of advice that I could give to anybody doing Q4 is you didn't buy enough. I have never come to the end. I've never come to the end of Q4 and had stocks sitting over going, damn, how am I going to shift this? It just hasn't happened for me yet. Maybe someday I'll get to that level where I'll be trying to shift something come February, March time going, oh, went too deep in this. It's yet to happen. Items that Keepa told me were selling 30 a month. I sold 100 in a day. So while throughout the year, everybody will tell you, go wide, not deep, spread your money, put it in different pots on the table. Q4 is the time when once you've done your due diligence, go deep. Put your money on where your mouth is, so to speak, on this one. I would argue that this year is going to be I don't want to use a cliche of a game changer, but if you've turned on the news anytime in the last couple of weeks, you'll see that geopolitics globally is changing by the hour. You have the issues that's going on within Afghanistan, the transition of power there. It's only very recently you had issues within Syria. I got a quote today. I actually spoke to a gentleman Monday evening, and he is a purchaser for a local department store, and he had just signed off that evening on a shipping container coming in from Shanghai into Northern Ireland, and the fee for a 40-foot container of garden furniture was $20,000 on the nose. When he said 18 months ago that would have been about $2,500–3,000. So you've got a massive $500–600 increase in shipping fees. I was speaking to an agent of mine in China yesterday, Monday afternoon. He phoned me.
Just quickly, is that 500–600%?
Yeah, it's crazy. Agent in China told me, he says, listen, this isn't supply and demand. He says the supply is there, the demand is there, yes. He says this has been artificially controlled by government officials in response to political and financial sanctions by America. So I don't want to get too political in the matter, but with every political decision, there's economic consequences. So there has been certain trade sanctions put in place by America. China is retaliating with other trade sanctions, which is leading to increase in shipping costs. Brass tacks of that is you will have suppliers that were bringing stuff in out of China at anywhere from 10 to 30% margin. Shipping costs has completely wiped out that margin. And just like I had to say today to the agent on one item that I was purchasing, the margins just aren't there. It doesn't make sense for me to purchase this. There is still local stock, so there's no advantage for me bringing the stock in. What will happen then is come November time, shipping prices will fall because you won't get the stock here before Christmas. But in the meantime, there will be shortages throughout the UK of a lot of different items of stock. So you think about it, you go into Smith's and you lift any toy, and chances are along the bottom of the box, it's going to say made in China. This is going to affect global supply chains. So prices of stuff are likely to not be as low this year. So your Q4 sales from Argos, Sainsbury's and the likes are probably not going to have the bargains that you were expecting or hoping for. And also the supplies just aren't going to be there. You're going to see a lot of shortages on the shelves. I'm not talking about panic stations of between COVID when, they were showing you shelves of empty toilet rolls and stuff like that. But you're going to find a lot less variety and choice available this Q4. This is going to push demand to key items up. If you have your stock early, if you have it into Amazon early and you have it sitting there ready to go, when it sells out in the high street, the customers, if they want that item, they will pay the additional associated fees to get it online. You then have the backlash from COVID, where people are that used to shopping online now. It's the convenience. You've still got the peace of mind without having to go out and risk yourself mixing within large crowds at Christmas. They will pay the additional associated charges for the convenience of shopping online. I've noticed while I've been speaking that there's been a couple of messages popped up, so I just want to nosy at them. Let me see, there was one there.
There's also an interesting looking animal walking in the background.
Yes, I live in a rural environment. Cows don't wander past. But if you look, let me move this way, I now have a fence, which is great because up until recently, they actually just came up and like rubbed against the window. So we're making progress over here. We've got fences now. Yeah, Derek has asked a really great question, and it's one that I've been asked in private messages 2 or 3 times this week. How do you think compliance issues will affect us with the toys during Q4? Most of the items I sold last Q4 have been removed off Amazon. I have my own beliefs and theory around this one, and at the minute I have very little sort of factual evidence that I can base this on, but there's 2 ways to look at it. So declarations conformity, for anybody who don't know, is a paperwork that Amazon has asked people for, specifically relating to the manufacturing of toys to make sure they comply with UK toy safety standards. It seems to have been a backlash from Brexit, and when we left Europe, we used to comply to their standards. UK now have their own standards. First off, I don't think I've come across any toy that's available on a high street or online as yet that I've ever looked at it and went, that seems a bit unsafe to give to a child. If you're buying a Disney toy or a toy from Mattel, they're going to make sure that it has been tested to the hilt because they do not want a lawsuit worth tens of millions of pounds. However, off the back of that, Amazon is still asking for the paperwork. If by now the paperwork has not been asked for, it will be a case of that listing has been removed off Amazon. I've noticed some people have re-added listings and they're 250,000 rank. I'm watching a few of those with interest to see how long they last. I would suspect if the paperwork isn't there, it's only a matter of time before Amazon remove those from catalog. The flip side of that is if your toy listing is still there, either the declaration conformity has been provided to Amazon by another seller or the manufacturer, or Amazon is not requesting it. So it'll get to the point where the toys that don't have the available paperwork will be removed from Amazon catalogs, and the toys that are still there have the paperwork. So I would imagine over the next coming months, that is an issue that's going to phase itself out. Will you still possibly get stuck with a toy that you've been selling great for 18 months and then suddenly Amazon asks for the paperwork and you can't get it? Yeah, that's a real possibility with anything you sell on Amazon. In that scenario, you have a couple of choices about how you deal with that. Try and get it pushed through on Amazon or remove it and sell it on another platform. That's something that we could go into more detail another time. But yeah, I would imagine that is an issue that has sort of played out over the last calendar year, and it will phase itself out during Q4 and won't be that much of an issue. I would imagine the biggest issues you're going to face this Q4 is going to be your storage. IBI has still, I have mine back in good order, but I still see the ripple effects on a couple of listings that I'm on. And I would say it is going to be getting your stock in early. The IPI issue was Amazon putting a shot across the bows in June and July saying, hey, we want to get our houses in order for Q4. And that they went to the mattresses in that one. Prior to that, they put in individual ASIN limits and that didn't do enough. And then they went hard line on it. So Amazon's getting serious about Q4 this year as well. That's very evident. What their processing time is going to be for getting stock live when you ship in stock, anybody's business. I know last year, individual UPS boxes were much faster shipping in than pallets. Pallets were taking 3 weeks, if not longer. Individual boxes can be anywhere from 3 days to 10 days. But that would be what I'd be more concerned about this Q4. Look, I know you, well, you know what? I'm going to turn that back on Derek. I don't know if anybody knows it. I'm going to give him a bit of a shout out, but it's the person who asked this question. He does have his own prep center. Derek, it'd be interesting to see have you any specific plans in place this year for shipping stuff in for Q4? Look, you've your whole prep all outsourced. Have you done anything specific for this Q4 that different from your normal OA orders?
Yeah, I mean, just quickly on the compliance thing. The one thing I'll preface this by saying, like, I'm incredibly hands off in the business now. It does sort of run itself, and it's got to the point where it's making decisions on itself through guidelines in a way. So I don't actively see what's going on with compliance requests. But what I do know from reporting is that from when it first came around, these compliance requests, whenever it was back in sort of February, I think, maybe, a lot of those items that were originally requested are now we're able to sell again. And we actually have a monitoring system in place where when these come up, if we can't get them removed, we'll actually periodically check them, because a lot of these are, someone's submitting documentation, Amazon are pulling them, whatever's happening. But as well now, actually, we're finding a lot of these we're able to submit successful appeals or the documentation or whatever it is. But essentially, when Amazon are firing compliance requests at us, we are being able to deal with them a lot more successfully. So it's not a big concern that I have. Touch on another thing as well before we go on to prep. The one thing I just want to touch on is, like, look, the difficulty with these kind of things is that everyone's at different levels. I think I'm curious. I want to ask the question, and whose first Q4 is it here? And this is potentially something it's for everyone, but especially if you're in your first Q4. And it's to just touch on what Eamonn said. Like, people often worry about buying too much stock, and as Eamonn said, it just doesn't seem to happen. It's amazing how much does sell, and you got to look at it sort of risk reward as well. Like, if you actually have a bit too much stock, like, as soon as, what I would say is that when Christmas comes around, it's not like everything stops selling. There you go, Steve Broadhead, first Q4, exciting times, my friend. In a good position to get yourself set up to do well. But yeah, what I would say is, like, even if it's toys, even if it's advent calendars, whatever, check Keeper, things still sell after Christmas. It's not like Amazon shuts its doors and people don't buy anything. Things still sell. And you're probably not going to have the stuff there to sell anyway, because it's probably going to be sold out in advance. There we go. Emma's first, Tom's first proper one, Fiona's first, Zevo's first. Yeah. So on this, one thing I wanted to say is, in general, like, I'm not going to go into huge amounts of detail, but in general, if you're confident, back yourself. You're going to have this feeling in your gut. If you have I'm not saying go and buy stuff randomly, but if you do the fundamental analysis and you have a decision to buy, go and back yourself there. The other thing I would say is, Eamonn talked about the analysis and what people sort of says to buy. The one thing about that is you've just got to remember, this is especially important, sort of a reminder for those in the first Q4, remember that sales rank is relative. And if we use the example of toys, now, say an item is rank 100,000 in toys in June, that's a rank, it's relative. That means that item, 100,000 might be selling, I don't know, let's just say 5 items per day, just for argument's sake. I don't know what a rough is now, rough it is now. So let's say it's selling 5 items per day at a sales rank of 100,000 in toys and games in June. Now, if you're looking at, like, the December the 15th, for example, or December as a whole, that sales rank of 100,000 could be selling 50 or 100 items per day in toys and games. So that's the one thing I will say, is that sales rank is a rank, it's relative. Just remember that when you are doing your analysis there. Now, lastly, in terms of prep centers, Eamonn mentioned, I think it's very important that you go and you put in place an agreement with your prep center. And what I mean by that is because prep centers are going to be very busy, and you want to be able to have agreements in place so you know that you're not going to have items that you ordered that aren't then being shipped in for a month's time because prep centers aren't prepared. So, kind of do your research on the prep center, ask those questions. I'm not going to go into this in too much detail. As mentioned, we only have some limited time here, and we'll have the opportunity to go into more detail on these things next week, as Eamonn mentioned. But there are a few sort of questions coming in, so I wanted to jump back to yourself there, Eamonn. Did you have anything else you wanted to mention on that, or should we jump into some of these questions?
Yeah, I wanted to sort of add in about the sales rank. You said it was, it's a rank and it's relative. I did a call with somebody a couple of months back, and one of the things we looked at was bottles of gin. Now, I know most people on here aren't going to have the licensing, so it's not the best lead in the world to give you. But we're sitting looking at it, and the rank was barely moving. And people say, oh, you look for the drops. Because it was that highly ranked and the top 10 items within selling and groceries were barely moving at all, it near enough looked like a static graph, that there was no movement in it, because it was relative to the ones beside it, and they weren't moving either because they were selling that fast. It also should be noted that every so often I will sit and I will take a key, just a random ASIN within my inventory, and I will just do metadata testing on it, whereby I will pick random sales of that item, check the fees on it, make sure they check through to the software I use to, for my seller toolkit, for my SaaS, for Keepa. And one thing I've noticed is that I have went and looked where I've got maybe 3 sales in a day of one item, and I've checked it against the Keepa graph for that day. On these days when it doesn't even register one of my sales. And I've contacted Keepa on this one, and they came back and says, hey, we are only as accurate as the information we get from Amazon, and Amazon doesn't release all the information from Keepa to Keepa. Same goes to SaaS, same goes to BuyBot Pro, same goes to Seller Toolkit. It doesn't always release all the information. So if you're getting an item and it's saying that it's selling 20 a month, and you're sitting going, well, there's 10 sellers in the list and they've got a collective of 40 units. It might actually be selling 40 a month, and it could be doing much better than you reckoned. So I would always be a wee bit more aggressive in my stock when it comes to Q4. The other thing that I was going to ask is, I was going to make this a wee bit more interactive, but I'm just going to cut the chase on it a little one, just because I'm curious of time, or conscious of time, is a lot of people that I speak to have this naive notion that, Q4 ends on the 23rd or the 25th of December, and after that, then you've got the dull and dreary January in Q1. My attitude is Q4 seems to go on until about Valentine's Day. January is a brilliant selling month. I seen someone there putting in the comments that January is better than their December. I would ask them to look at their management on that one, but January can be a very good selling month as well. So don't be worried about if it doesn't all sell by the 25th, you're going to be lumbered with it. That's not the case. Look, did these, meltables? Yeah, rule isn't enforced. Meltables is a good category to sell around Christmas. Let's face it. People like sitting at home watching films on Boxing Day and eating tins of sweets. That has been a UK tradition for as long as I was knee-high, and it is one that will continue. In fact, I bought some tins of sweets today to start selling today. The rank isn't great, sales velocity isn't great, but the margin is wonderful. And I was like, yeah, let's get on them. So it's August, and I've already started telling them tins of sweets for Christmas.
The one thing I'll touch on is just quickly on the January and December. The one thing I will say here is I started selling right at the end of August 2018. I think my last sale was 31st of August of 2018. So I wasn't super prepped for Q4 2018. But what I will say is that I actually did do a similar amount of sales in January as I did in December. But I think that was purely because I was generating profits in like November, December, which alongside me actually developing the skills, alongside me actually being antisocial, hermit, not having university, and actually spending time on Amazon business, meant that I was actually just put more better position, let's say, to sell in January. Depends on what you're selling as well, but I would say, look, and people might disagree with me here, but I would say, as a rule, if you are doing it right, you should definitely be getting more sales in December than you do in January. You know, if I look at sort of my seller toolkit, I posted about this. I did 150K in revenue between November 23rd, December 23rd. A typical month for me is between 60 to 80K. So that was, you know, over to twice there. But the main thing is the profit on that. Like this, I found there's much better margins in Q4 because Andy mentioned sort of prices tanking. What I find is that a lot of time the prices will tank. And again, we won't go into a lot of detail here because this will be covered next week for those who opt into it, I'd imagine. But what I find is that, if not, we'll figure a way. But what I find is that prices tend to sort of tank and then recover very quickly and actually skyrocket because demand just actually outstrips supply as sales spike. People talk about Q4, but I don't know what you think, Eamonn. For me, Q4, you know, technically that's October, November, December, but yes, sales might increase, but people are also sending more stock in. I tend to find my sales really spiking between that sort of middle of November and to up until sort of Christmas, really. What about yourself? And let us know as well in the comments what you found.
I'm going to give one analogy in this, whereby last year I seen a comment on a Facebook group about a particular Lego item that had been on sale, and a couple of people had jumped on the list and they were saying about how well it had done. I hadn't noticed it. I hadn't found that deal, neither my VAs. And I purchased it after the sale had been on, I think it was actually lego.com. And I purchased it and I was late to the party. So I was like, right, well, you either have to be the first in or the last out. So I was the last out. And while most people were buying it for 20 and selling it for 45, I think I bought it at 29, but sold it for 87. So last one sitting at the table playing the game. And if anybody wanted that item for Christmas, there was me they had to deal with, and people paid it. And it's that sort of thing. You will have people that panic, crash the price because they need their money for whatever reason, and that's how they run their business, and that's their business. But if you hold your nerve, you will make the additional margins. And it's the sort of thing, Q4 is time sensitive. Yes, there will be time to buy, sell, replenish, and turn your money over. But there gets to that point where you will not be able to replenish in time for the big spike come start to middle of December. And if you've got stock in and it's sitting there and you've done the money, look, I can't remember what you have a term for this, for its actual invested cost, but it's the same thing. Once you've got your stock sitting there, you've done the effort. Why be so aggressively competitive on it when you can wait and get higher yield for the same amount of work put in? So don't want to keep hammering that point across, but yeah, my experience is margins tend to increase during the Q4 time period. What I would say is now's the time to get ready for it. You can talk about the actual semantics and the logistics around actually working the Q4. But if you're sitting coming end of December going, right, I should start sourcing stock, close the laptop and go outside and play, you've probably left it too late. I would say that now is the time when you need to be hitting it hard, getting your times in place. I spoke to sales rep for stock that I purchased in wholesale for Q4. I had my orders in mid-July. And that was the earliest that I could put them in. And the sales rep goes, yeah, sorry, a wee bit late to the table getting to you. But most of our orders went in at the end of March. And I spoke to the local shops and they said, yeah, we've had our repeat orders in from March and April. You got to think of the global supply chains here. And that's when they were putting in their orders. Simply because when you go to a wholesaler is not the manufacturer. They're buying the stuff in from either distributor or the manufacturer. Manufacturer needs to know how much to make so they're not sitting with stock, especially if it's perishable goods. And all that takes time to organize and collate. So they want the orders in a good time. So if you're phoning them October, November saying, hey, I want a pallet of, I don't know, Lego toys, chances are they're going to be, no, all our stock's assigned, give us a shout next year. So it's about getting in early. Lloyd Jones, who isn't on the call tonight, but I'll give him a wee shout out anyway. His definition of luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And that is very true. Most luck isn't luck at all. It has been your best place to make use of an opportunity that's presented to you. And that is what it's all about within business. It's being able to identify the opportunities and action them in a smart manner. Again, next week on the lives that we're going to be doing, we are going to be discussing the best ways about setting out for your Q4. But I do think it's all about preparation. If you are thinking that you're going to go in and do Q4 and you're going to wing it, yeah, you might do well, but I guarantee, I will bet my house on it, that if you sat down, if you had an action plan, if you had targets and specific measurables in place, you would do far better than somebody who's just going to go, I'll give a deal about it. But it all depends on your mindset, and it all depends on where you want to be. If this is a side hustle, you've working a full-time job, you've got other time commitments, and Amazon's just a little bit of an interest or a hobby on the side, and you're wanting to make a couple of £100 for whatever reason, fine, great. If this is something you're saying, hey, I want to make this as a viable business, I want to use it to replace my current employment and set myself up as self-employed and be my own businessman or woman, well then you need to be organized. You ask any manager in a shop, do they have an action plan or targets or measurables for that week or that month? One, they'll look at you funny, but then they will say yes. Look, what do you reckon?
Yeah, 100%. I think, I look, as you know, working with me, I could go on all day about measurables and systems and planning the implementation. But I'll give you a couple of examples. I think this is this psychological thing where if you have a goal and you genuinely believe you can hit it, it's amazing how sort of universe conspires to make that happen. Specific to my Amazon business, I won't go into too many things, but specific to my Amazon business, the first one, not so weird, but we had a goal of sort of 100K revenue November. We got 99K. The second one was weird because I sent my team of VAs. So I've got 6 VAs who pretty much run my business full time. I spend a couple hours a week doing it. And I set them the target of 150K between November 23rd, December 23rd. And I wasn't very confident that we were actually going to hit that. I set goal of sort of what I thought 120K. If we hit that, I'll be very happy. This was before the 100K November, but yeah, I didn't think we were going to hit it, to be honest. And we ended up hitting 149.5K. Now, to me, that is kind of crazy because the VAs genuinely sort of bought into that goal from what I could see. And it's amazing how they kind of, when it hit that, it's really interesting to me. But I think the key thing is, from what Eamonn said, yeah, have a goal, build out a plan to hit that goal, and then show up and hit it. And, you know, the 3 sort of key things there, well, you know, having that goal, having the plan, and then showing up, having accountability there as well, whatever form that takes. Now, yeah, I think that's the key thing for me. And I wanted to jump over to you here, Eamonn. And, you know, we talked at the start about, you know, we're going to try and deliver as much value as we can during this call. If anyone does have any more questions, we will come to them. We're not ending it here. But I did want to touch on that. Now, there is an opportunity next week for those who do want a bit more information on Q4 prep. Is that one thing you're going to touch on, the sort of planning elements?
Yeah, so my plan for next week, as Calvo asked, I do have a lovely PowerPoint all done out. And this isn't just stuff that's done off the top of my head. I have actually sat and read market reports. I've actually went and looked at government websites on current trends and backed this up with factual data that there's links to within the presentation. And it's based a lot on that data and then my own information on how I feel I can support somebody to get their most out of Q4. So starts off with, cliche of getting your ducks in a row, seeing where you're at, seeing what capital you have to work with, making key business decisions. So one of them could be prep. Are you going to outsource prep? Are you going to keep it in-house? Whatever decision you make, you're going to have actions off the back of that. Then setting out where you are now, where you want to get to, and developing a goal of how to get there. Then wanting to look at specific logistics issues within Q4, when specific shops are going to be releasing their Q4 sales. Are they going to be the be all and end all? Let's face it, we know Argus is going to do a 3 for 2 in toys sometime around September, October time. They're probably toys that are currently selling for $7.99 that are going to be 2 for 15 quid. So you're knocking 49p off a toy. Is it going to be worth waiting on? Depending on what you've got earmarked. Will you have them earmarked? So it's about planning them now. Last year, I did a lot of RA. I used COVID to my advantage massively. Retail shops were closed in mainland UK. They were opened in Northern Ireland, and I capitalised on that massively. I wasn't just running into shops and scanning. I had a shopping list provided to me by my VAs, and I would set them out. I just sent them a Google Maps stock link, and I sent them my GPS in the phone, and they say, okay, you're coming into this shop. Here's a list of what you need to list. This year, I'm not even doing that. As I said, I am going to just provide vans and credit cards and get somebody else to go do that for me. So I have that planned now. It is mid-August, and I have it earmarked who's driving, where they're going, haven't the dates organised as yet, but I'm all organised in that way. So that's one thing to look at, and it's then about how you action it. So as I said, you have to be the first in or the last out. So it's about how you play games with the other sellers to get the best results. Setting your sales strategies. You don't want to be just using the same sales strategies that you're doing for a replenishable item you're lifting out of Tesco's at the moment, because even though it is still replenishable, you've got the supply line issues, so you want to go and be scaling that up. So there's a lot we're going to be looking at. There's a lot we're going to be talking through. We did something similar to this a couple of months back with Gavin Sweeney, where we looked at the Amazon flips and specifically targeting high-end items where you could purchase them from Amazon for maybe 50, 60 quid and sell them for 200 or 300. We ran a series of these webinar sessions. We ran 4 of them. And look, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the price was £19. Is that correct?
Yeah, they were £19, and yeah, I'll drop a link as well. But yeah, they were £19, and as you probably mentioned, they did sell out pretty much straight away.
So we released four of those with the 10 to 12 on each call at £19. This one that we're going to be releasing on for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday next week, it's 3 nights with 10 people in each one of them, and we're giving the value at £9. Point of the matter is that we're not doing it to make the money off the £9. The £9 is to commit who shows up. When you've got a bit of skin in the game, and when you're actually committed to showing up, it's £9. It's what? An individual takeaway. It's not even a full takeaway. You'll actually show up and commit to it. I have put a lot of time and effort into this, and this has evolved out of a throwaway comment on a Friday where I was like, hey, if anybody wants a bit of help with Q4, drop me a message. And then I thought, rather than just replying to a couple of private messages, I'd actually do something. So I went and done my homework on this. This presentation is going to take you through how to set up for your best Q4 ever. It is targeted at anybody that has either never had or has had maybe one or two Q4s but still feel they're just not hitting the target. If you're saying, hey, I've been selling on Amazon 10 years, I'm doing £1 million turnover, what am I going to get from this course? Well, you're going to get to look at me for an hour. But that's not what it's about. Every package or whatever has a specific purpose. This is geared at people that still feel that they could be maximizing their time, efforts, and margins out of Q4. I did have one more point I wanted to make, and it's completely slipped my mind now. Yeah, that's what it was. I did have another person message me today going, hey, got your program, getting coaching, what am I going to get out of this? And it's a very fair and valid question. And I'm in a lot of Facebook groups, probably too many. And I seen a question posted the other night in a coaching group, predominantly an American-based group. And somebody was like, do coaches need coaching? And within minutes, there were 70 responses. And one of them was from a guy who clicked into his page. He has 5,000 friends on Facebook, big American life coach guy. And he simply says, I'm a life coach. I charge £5,000 for my products. I'm very successful in coaching what I do, and I have 3 coaches. He goes, I still have a business coach to keep me accountable, to keep me on track, and to give me advice on what way I'm doing things. He says, I've got a fitness coach because while I know how to go to the gym, he can tailor and focus on what I need to do to get the maximum yield out of my experience at the gym. And then he says, I've got my own life coach because I still need my own resilience and own things supported throughout that. And I was thinking, there's a guy who people are paying him for coaching and he has 3. And it just goes to show it's not, you might be sitting there going, I can know what I'm doing and I'm doing all right and I don't need any of your help. And fine, fantastic. Best of luck with your Q4. I hope you smash it out of the park and I hope that you are 100% correct in that one. But for those that are sitting going, is it worth £9 for me to jump on a call and see, can I increase my efficiency, set systems in place, get organized, and instead of being sitting at 14 to 15% margin, be coming away from Q4 sitting at 21, 22% margin? I leave that up for you to make the decision on. Personally, I think it's worth the money. Off the back of that, we are going to be offering 12 places on a handheld blueprint walkthrough, which is literally taking you from start of September to mid-December, one-to-one group coaching. So it'll be series of group coaching calls, series of one-to-one calls, where we will talk you through everything Q4 in specific detail to your business. Limited to 12 places, and one of them's already gone. I had a call with a guy last night, and he was like, this is exactly what I want. I went in here before they're all gone. And I was like, haven't even got the landing page left. I don't even have the links. And he goes, no worries. And he just sent a bank transfer because he's that committed to making the most out of his Q4. That's what I'm looking for. I'm going to be the one that's going to be delivering this content. It's going to be me that you're going to be looking with if this is something that you decide is for you. And I'm not looking for 40 people that are too busy doing something that, might jump on a call, might not. I'm looking for 12 individuals that are going to show up, going to commit, and that I can personally work with to get the most out of it. Last year, I didn't do the 100,000 turnover in December, did just shy of it, but I had 26,000 in profit after all was paid and said and done for the month of December, which is annoying because it just wasn't £1,000 a day profit, but it was pretty close. That is the information I want to be sharing with those 12 individuals. I want to be working with you to make sure you get the best. My father asks me regularly, Eamonn, why are you on the internet telling people how to sell on Amazon? You're only taking food off your own plate. And I've sat and I've looked long and hard at this question. And the prime example was a deal sheet that I bought 3 years ago from another seller in the UK. It was predominantly for toys within Smiths. And he was like, yeah, I have absolutely no issue selling it to you, Eamonn. You're in Northern Ireland. Most of these can only be picked up RA. He says, even if we're in the same listings, there's only so many of them available. We're both going to make money at this. And we did. And the funny thing is, I still use that list for replenishables 3 years later. So I want to help people. I used to be a teacher. My fiance laughs at the money I make now in comparison to my teaching salary, but I still have it in me that I like to help people. I like to teach, probably to my detriment, because I will try and force it on people that don't want it. But I like helping people. And if you're one of those 11 spaces now, I will guarantee that you get serious value for money. Personally guarantee that. Sorry, I've just seen that there's a chain of messages there. I can't see the names in them. Look, is there anything you want to add in that you feel that I might have missed?
Not really. I think for me, just with this, it's, ultimately, what are you going to get from your £9? At the end of the day, it's as Eamonn said, like, we are not trying to make money out of the £9 there to put on this session. It's not the 1 hour, it's everything else, and it's the information you're getting from this. Essentially, with this session, if you book on and you aren't happy with what you get, we won't just give you the £9 back, but we'll actually give you an extra £9 as an apology for taking up sort of an hour or so of your time. So yeah, if you're still worried about that, that's there with you. The thing I would say is, I think Eamonn and I are similar in that we've just started, or Eamonn probably less, with a couple £100 4 years ago. For myself, yeah, a couple £100. For myself, I was a bit more scattered. I kind of started with a little bit and then gradually just added on, got money in from wherever I could. I think, as I sort of mentioned, I did not feel super prepared for my first Q4. And then the second one, I still found that, yeah, there's just so many things afterwards that I wish I did a bit better, essentially. I mean, actually, it's funny because they mentioned 26K for myself between, I don't know for December, but we did it for that 23-day period as 26.5K in profit. So if that £9 can even generate you an extra few £100, is it worth it? That's all I'm going to add, because essentially it's £9. If you want to jump in, go for it. If you don't, that's fine. Yeah, that's sort of all I wanted to add there. There were a few questions which we can go through, but is there anything else you wanted to mention before we start rattling through those, Eamonn?
Yeah, I just lifted my phone because I was saying that there was a couple of vibrations coming through, and I just wanted to see what's going on. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the places, according to my notifications, are already gone. So out of 37 of them are already gone. Yeah, thank you. Already gone. Donald, I'm really glad to see you commenting on this. Yeah, I'd love to help you out with this, simply because, well, you're a good-looking fella and you've got a heart of gold, and you deserve everything. You deserve to have the best. You always amaze me as a seller. For anybody that doesn't know Donald, again, based in Northern Ireland, his margins are ridiculous. He buys a lot of vintage stuff. He buys a lot of obscure things, collectibles that, you'd walk past and think, no, that's 150,000 ranking toys. I'd never touch it. And he's going, great, I'd clean the shelf. And then he's making £50 profit per item. But with that, it's fast turnover is still something that you want to be focusing on as well. So don't love to have you on board for this. Q4, what's the cost on the Q4 walkthrough? I see, look, you've dropped there again. I don't know who asked that question.
Well, if we just run through these, because we're going to get mixed all over. The one thing I wanted to mention as well, it's interesting you talked about the coaches. I'm I'm a strong believer of practicing what I preach. And recently I spent 5K USD on sort of a personal development sort of course. Earlier this year, I spent $3,500 on business coaching. Just a couple of things, I'm always looking to improve. So it's interesting you talked about the coaching there. I don't claim to be 5K, selling 5K personal development courses. But yeah, interesting you mentioned that. Actually made me think about myself. But yeah, let's run through some of these. And, if you got any questions, keep those coming. I appreciate you guys interacting as much as you do. And if you did get value from this, please do hit that love heart button. Andy mentioned I have this Amazon loan offer of 24.5K. Want to make the best use of the Q4. Well, that's essentially what it's all about, making the best use of the capital available. Because for a lot of people, what it's going to come down to is either running out of capital and deciding where to spend your money, or actually taking out more capital. And I know that's something that Eamonn is going to touch on further down the line. So yeah, not so much a question, but got you covered there, Andy. Calvo says, yeah, this is enough for everyone, enough of the item for everyone to eat, and we only have a set amount of money. There's millions of items per cat. Yeah, that's to do with what Eamonn was mentioning before. Carl's booked on. Awesome, Carl. Jess wants in. Jess, I don't know if you've got in, but I'll drop the link for you. Yeah, people mentioned you can't click on it in the comment, the thing that pops up. Yeah, you can't click on that, but it's from the comments. If you just scroll through the comments, I mentioned it there. Andy, £9 for an hour, and expert advice, amazing share. Yeah, as Eamonn said, this, we're not going to try and pull anything over your eyes. We're pretty open about this. There will be an opportunity there for 11 more people who want it to take up what's actually a pretty insane offer on the end of that.
According to the private messages I've just got, that might be down to 10.
Okay, well, there you go.
So not trying to be pull scarcity or anything, but this is about delivering value as well. The course is going to be offered off the back of those calls. It's not going to be for everybody. The content that is delivered is going to be far more than £9 worth of value. And that's just me being open and transparent. I know other people that aren't on here tonight, and they have already said to me that they want to sign up to it too, simply because for nothing else, it'll give them a good framework of what to work off. So I know a couple of other big sellers that are going, I do know what I'm doing, but it's nice just to have a framework to lay it all out, just so I have it in my head. I know the local roads around my area, but if I was still driving the day or something for the day, I would still put on Google Maps just so that I know if there's a corner coming up. Same sort of principle here. This is going to be a mapped out framework for you to look at how to get the best out of your Q4. Cash is a big headache for you. Speak to my accountant. Cash has done my absolute nut in this week. My end of year accounts are due, and I moved money around like a squirrel last year buying PPE for COVID. And I was moving in and out of business and personal accounts, mixing mortgage payments in. And I don't know how my accountant has slapped me. If anybody really wants to speak more about this, drop me a message. I'm probably going to be a little bit busy this evening, but I will get back to you later tonight. If not, straight away tomorrow. I'll happily talk anybody through this. Again, guys, like I said, there's 11 places available. I'm wanting people that I can work with. If you're sort of on the fence about it and you're going, it's probably not for you. I want people that are going to be, right, let's go. I want people that are going to be hounding me with questions, going to be like, right, Eamonn, I'm down to my last $3,000. What do I put it on? That's who I want to work with. I want to take people that are sitting with a couple of grand to play with, and they're going to go, let's see what we can do with this and see how far we can stretch it. I want to be able to come January, February time, take screenshots of other people's STK accounts and go, look what this person done, look how I helped them. Bit of an ego boost for me, not going to lie about that one, but I also want the tangible proof that I was able to help these people. And more than that, I want to know that I'm actually helping people and not just ripping people off and wasting people's time on Facebook Live.
Now, I don't know if Eamonn wants me to share this, but yeah, actually, genuine story. Eamonn is no longer part of the sales team at iGen Entrepreneur because he's actually helps people too much. He gives them too much value up front, and so he's no longer part of the sales team, and that's why he's now our sort of head coach here at iGen Entrepreneur. So yeah,
same reason I got let go from Tesco. I just used to give it away for free. Yeah,
that to your mate in the back.
Best margins. Yeah, that's a bit of a character flaw of mine. I'm like, it's a bit of the culture in me. Actually, you don't need that. Come here, I'll help you. But yeah, I have been known to over deliver on a lot of stuff and just pretty much spill my guts on the strategy calls, and people are like, well, yeah, that's all I needed. Thanks very much. And I guarantee if you're one of the other 11, you will get the same. It is going to be an intensive 3-month support package. Well, 4 months, September, December. I'm so serious about this that I'm still going to be providing support over my honeymoon. And I had a call with Luke about this the other day, and he's like, Eamonn, how's this going to work? So you're on honeymoon then? And I was like, yeah, I've cleared it for my fiance. And he sort of raised an eyebrow and was like, well, she's more understanding than my girlfriend would be. To which I pointed out, she has to be understanding. She's my enemy. So it's who I am as a person, guys.
Awesome.
Yeah. Conscious of time.
Yeah, look, I hope this has been useful. Paul, to clarify, to clarify for everyone, because I know, traditionally sales people will just tell you it's a awesome free webinar that you learn everything in your life. I hope you will agree that we have provided with some value here. It's difficult to do that for everyone with everyone at different stages, but I hope this has been useful for you, even if you aren't going to take this any further. The next step, if you do want some more preparation for Q4 for, people, between us, we have 7 years experience selling on Amazon, online arbitrage, myself, pretty much purely, Eamonn, RA, OA, wholesale. Then there is a group coaching session. There's 3 slots, capped at 10 per slot. So 3 group coaching calls next week. 10 people per slot, so it's a lot more interactive than this. That's the idea. You're going to get more personalized approach to it. I'm going to go more value there. That's hopefully going to really blow that £9 out the park. If you're not convinced, get your £9 back plus another £9 for your time. From there, there's the opportunity. There's going to be a program to really help you to smash Q4. But that's not going to be for everyone. But that will be, the details of that will be following those group coaching sessions for those who do want it. So hopefully that clears it up there, Paul. The next step is 3 group coaching calls next week, 10 slots on each, and I can see there are now 9 slots total left. 1 sold out, and there's 9 across the other 2 group coaching calls there. Are there any questions we missed? Anything else before we wrap it up? Not in particular hurry, but if there isn't anything, we will just leave it there. And look, whatever you do, it's going to be no time before we're summarizing our Q4 results. If there's anything I can say, set a goal, build a plan, and execute. That's the biggest thing there, and have someone to keep you accountable. That's the biggest thing I can recommend.
just one last bit. I had a sales call with a person 2 months ago, and they said that they were bringing stuff in out of China. They were going down the private label route, and that while they were curious about away, it wasn't something they're interested in at the moment, but they gave them a call in a month. So I set up my calendar, and notice came up on the phone, and I had a couple of minutes. So I phoned them, and I was like, well, how far are they on? And they're like, yeah, I've done absolutely nothing in the month since I last spoke to you. You know yourself, I've been busy. And I was like, cool, best of luck with that. I'll talk to you later. But I just thought it was a prime example of how when they had no accountability, when there was no earnest there to get stuff done, a month had passed and they'd achieved nothing in relation to their Amazon business. I'm sure they've achieved other things in other aspects of their life, but in that specific focus, they were 0% further forward. And it's one of those things, without the plan, without the accountability, without the action points, anything you achieve is just coincidence and dumb luck. So if the seminar next week is for you, great. Looking forward to seeing you there. If it's not, best of luck with Q4. If you think the course from the seminar is something that you could be interested in, be brilliant to have one of the 11 that is going to be on one of the 11 spaces left. As I said, I want people that are going to be committed to it, not people that are curious. And you have my personal guarantee that if you show up to that, I will massively over deliver and you will seriously get value from money. One of the ASINs that I was looking at today to review over was a lead that was actually produced by iGen last year. And I made 1,800 quid off one ASIN. That wasn't one sale, it was multiple sales, but it's 1,860 something pound off one ASIN last Q4. And I have already stocked that order this year because I'm like, yeah, I think I'll be milking that for a couple of years to come. And that is the sort of information that I'll be providing. Guys, I'd just like to take the opportunity now. I know we're a wee bit over. I know Luke has other time commitments this evening. Thank you for showing up. We've had massive engagement and I'm absolutely delighted with that. I'm hoping that we have the same level of content and engagement next week. I might speak to Luke about saying about putting on a fortnight, but again, we're not really looking at the volume of those calls here. So that's why I would limit it to 30 instead of just saying, can we try and get 100 people in one call? We're about quality, not quantity in this one.
Awesome. No, that's great. And cool. Paul, I'll drop you a comment there. I have replied to you elsewhere, I believe, but I know you're talking about as a client there, your 10 sheets. Aside from that, though, thank you everyone for your time. It's been great to have so many people here. If there is anything you want to follow up on, do just drop a question in the iGen group. Aside from that, thank you, Eamonn. And yeah, I hope this has been useful. Cheers all. Have a good evening or morning or wherever you are in the world.
Thank you very much.
Cheers all.
Look, it's been a pleasure. Guys, see you all later.
Cheers, guys.